Here, just having a great day in Oregon. The sun is out. I just can't even believe how good it feels to be on a bike again. I think most of us can agree, just after a time off with snow and ice and all that stuff, how good it feels to get back on two wheels. First it felt a little foreign, but now it's feeling pretty good again. I just want to talk about come out of corners, torque versus RPM. So I find that compared to street bikes, an adventure bike, you ride similar, but a little bit different when you're off-road. So here I am going through some twisties, and I can come into a corner, grab a gear, hold some RPMs, come out of the corner. And as I come out of the corner, I can get back on the throttle, but I'll tend to shift down, and gear selection doesn't matter that much. I can come out of the gear holding quite a few RPMs. Now, I've been experimenting off-road. Years ago, I heard someone talking about coming out at a lower RPM using torque on gravel more than RPMs, and you know what? They were exactly right. I think that was Brake Magazine and one of their videos, and I first didn't quite buy in, but I've been trying it for a couple years now, and I have to admit, I think it works. I have to be careful here. You can't see it, but there's gravel on the highway from snow that they had up here, so there's like ball bearings all over these corners, and just gravel. So I can't come through this too fast. But anyway, going back to what I was talking about, if you are on pavement, you can use, drop a gear like this, come out, get off the gas, on some brakes, come back out, and use RPMs, and come out a little bit hot on the RPMs, and then upshift, and come through these twisties. But on gravel, it's a little different. If you come out in a high gear, even with traction control, sometimes you just end up hanging out the back end a little bit more than you need to. And it's probably a little bit inefficient to be breaking traction all the time. So in a little bit, I'm going to be on gravel, and I'll show you what I've found works well as far as just using torque, a little lower RPM. You don't want to lug the bike, so depending on your bike and what have you, gear selection will vary, but you'll get the idea. And I just want to put this out there and have, now that we're all starting to ride again on our dual sports and on-road as well, play around with gear selection coming out of corners. As you come through a corner, generally we want to stay neutral on the throttle. And then as the corner unwinds, you see a little daylight, then you can roll on the throttle, back on the brake, neutral through the corner, back on the throttle. As you're braking down before the corner, neutral through the corner. Here's another corner, neutral through the corner, downshift, and then roll on the throttle. Okay, so in a moment we'll be on gravel, and then I'll give a little clip talking about what I'm talking about, the differences between pavement and gravel when it comes to coming out of a corner. On pavement, I tend to shift more. I just like to shift and rev match and do those kinds of things. I think that's for us ride bikes. One of the reasons we do that is we enjoy that feeling connected to the machine and shifting. But when we're on gravel, sometimes more shifting, more RPMs isn't necessarily better. So just for comparison, let's pretend I'm on pavement again. I'm going to drop a gear, throttle blip. I'm in a higher gear here, and I'm going to come out of this. Woo! Okay, yeah, hanging that back end. See, I'm just roosting back there, braking traction all over. And again, the slip traction control is catching me. I'm also letting off when I feel my back end come around. But it just works so much better to go into that in a higher gear and use torque rather than RPM on a corner, at least on an adventure bike when you're on loose gravel. On pavement, hey, do what you want. So there's a roll-on higher gear out of a corner, and again, no slippage, no problem. And here we are, kind of a medium RPM, roll on the throttle, no problem. So I guess in summary, I'd say low to medium RPMs rolling out of a corner, which would mean a higher gear with lower RPMs, as opposed to a lower gear with higher RPMs rolling on the throttle out of a corner. And again, don't lug your bike. So, for example, okay, this is like 5th gear. Okay, you can feel my bike kind of shuddering. That's too high. Okay, so use your judgment. If your bike's herky-jerky and sputtering and, you know, there's any jerking or what have you, you're lugging the bike, it's too low of an RPM, so don't do that. But you'll find there's kind of a sweet spot where you can roll on the throttle, the bike doesn't mind it, and you just maintain traction. So on this bike, what RPM am I pulling out at? I'd say 2,000 or more. I mean, I can take it down a little lower. Yeah, but 1,800, 2,000 or more, and I can roll out just fine. 2,500. But if I come in here, you know, with like 4,000 RPM, and then I'm pulling out of this corner from about, you know, 3,500, 45, yeah, 4,000 RPM, it's real easy to hang that back end out because I'm on the power band. That is one loose corner there. Okay, well, I hope that helps. Just something that was passed on to me, and I've been trying it for a couple years, and it seems to work. Stay tuned. I have some other videos coming up. I'm going to try to do one on exercises on the motorcycle, stretches to do like when you're off your bike, and I'm going to have that post hopefully in the next week. So keep riding, and hope this helps, and I hope this, I've made a case for using RPMs on the road is fine, but when you're on gravel, using torque as opposed to RPM seems to work. Torque with a little lower RPM will help you maintain control, and I feel like it helps me actually move quicker through the corners with more control and less fishtailing and sliding. So it's a win-win. You're safer, you're more controlled, and you're probably saving your back tire. I mean, this bike has, like a lot of bikes, has plenty of power. So if I'm breaking traction almost after every corner, I'm going to shred that back tire in no time at all. So that's just another kind of point. This is a nice little cornery section here of loose gravel. And again, rolling on from like 2,200 RPM, and man, it just shot me out of that corner because I wasn't breaking traction, because I was using torque more than RPMs. Such a nice day to ride. This has all been covered in snow until recently, and man, it feels good to be up here. So again, RPMs, there's like 3,800 RPM pull. Yeah, you know, anywhere from 2 on up is a good place to pull out of. Even around 3 is a nice range where you're gonna get some good torque, but not be lugging the bike. So play around with it. You guys will find what works best for your bike and your riding needs. But that was a really good tip. Again, here I am, like 3,000 RPM, and I can come through these corners, get on the throttle, and nothing breaks loose. I just accelerate right out of the corner. This is loose stuff. The 890 in its natural environment, off-road. Got the Moto's Tractionator tires on there. We've got the Adventure on the rear, and I think the RAL Z on the front. If I'm going to be doing more highway miles, I might go with a Mitas E07 Plus or something, but there it is. It's where that bike likes to be. For you shorter riders like myself, I have like a 30-inch inseam. Many times I'll use the kickstand to get on, rather than having to balance the bike to get on. So here you can see my kickstand is down. I'll hop on the bike, and many of you do this anyway. I'll put all my weight on the right foot, flip the kickstand up, and we're ready to rock and roll. Another thing that I'll do sometimes is like here, if I want to get off, and sometimes I'll pull into a low spot here. Like here, this is a little lower. It's not quite a ditch, and now I can easily get my left foot down and get off the bike. So I mean, especially when you're off-road, there's ways you can kind of cheat things. Oh, going back to not only corners, but when you take off, I'll tend to short shift sometimes on gravel. Less spin if I'm shifting around 4 grand, 3,800 for 4,000 RPM, rather than rev out each gear. So that's, you can use that on corners, but you can also use it just when you're accelerating on gravel. A version of that is when I'm at the dunes, I try to get to second gear as quickly as I can on a dirt bike, because I don't know, getting those higher gears, you just get more, it just works better. So here I'm coming out of this corner at like 2,000 RPM, and I can roll on the throttle, and it just shoots me out of the corner without any wheel spin. Haven't been up here for a while, so I need to slow down, because many times there can be down trees and things. So don't always assume it looks like there were a bunch of down trees here, that the trail is going to be the same, or the road even is going to be the same after weather. You know, things change, so always just be a little careful if you haven't been somewhere in a while looking for down trees or logs, or sometimes the road can be dug out in a weird way. We want to ride, but we also don't want to have a bad day and get injured. With gear selection, here I am going up a loose gravel terrain. Here, 3,000 RPM going up a steep hill on gravel seems about right. And so just keep that in mind. If it's flat, I can go down to 2,200 RPM and pull out of the corner and feel pretty good. But like, this is flat, I can easily pull out of this. But I was going uphill a moment ago, and 2,000 RPM was way too low on this bike, on a 890, KTM 890. So use your judgment. From bike to bike, it'll vary, but I think you'll have fun going out and just playing around with gear selection and throttles and traction. And here's 2,500, no, that's 3,000 RPM. Feels pretty good coming out of a corner uphill. I think you'll have fun playing around with it. Oh, it's really pretty up here. Great to be on the bike again. I was kind of getting a little complacent with riding because it was bad weather, and then it was cold and raining, and wasn't much above freezing and raining. It's just as hard to get motivated to ride when it feels like that. But I know all you can relate. But now it's starting to look a little better, and it's coming around. You're having fun when you have to think about which way is the actual road you're supposed to be on. Like right there. I think I'm going the right way. But here we are, really loose stuff. If I'm in a high gear going through this, I will just spin. Even with traction control, it'll catch me. So this is like, 2,800 RPM going up a hill. It's catching good traction. I'm not lugging. So that's just a point that I need to make, is that whether you're uphill, flat, all that will matter with your gear selection, as well as how loose the gravel is. If it's really loose, a little lower RPM, as long as you're not lugging your bike, is good. Still a little bit of snow on the side of the road. That's amazing. We had 80 degrees yesterday, so, which is rare for this time of year, but just had a day of it, one day, and the snow is still melting. I like it. Up here, so I'll see if I can get through this little stint of snow. I'm not sure if I will or not. There hasn't been any tracks through here. Yeah, this is not going ideal. I'm just on the throttle, spinning the back tire, and yeah, this is really slick, and I am off the road. Let's see if we can get Walking next to the bike. Okay. I think we made it. Yep, we made it. Just really slushy. I don't know if I'll go through that on the way back or not. Okay, so here I'm going to get on the bike. And I'm just going to put one foot on the foot peg, have it in first gear. Have my left foot on the foot peg. First gear. Ready to clutch out, give it some throttle. Just don't let your bike die when you do this. It'll hurt because you could fall over. And I just hop on, swing a leg over, and there we go. Yeah, there was a lot of snow up here. Wow. I may have to turn around. Wow. Yeah, no, we're getting into some pretty deep drifts there with kind of water in between where I'm just not going to make it. All right, well, surprising. All right, well, we'll turn around and head back. Through this, I'm going to try to take my same track since I kind of dug it down. Looks like I'm the only person to go through here. Surprised there haven't been any trucks or anything else in here. It's just slush. It's just melting and wet and slick. Yeah, taking the same track is way easier. Just keeping the front end. Traction is the key. There we go. Okay, well, there's that. And that doesn't look any better. I think we'll go back and find a different route. The RPM topic, coming out of corners, I do feel like anything below 4,000 RPM on the 890, pulling out of a corner feels pretty good. Makes good use of the traction. Anything much above that, it gets in its power band really strong, and it's not that you couldn't do it, it just gets a little harder to modulate it. So just something, 2,800, 3,000. That's a great place to come pull out of a corner on the gravel, it feels like. Down in 22, it's just a little low, so I just wanted to reframe that RPM-wise. Here I am rolling through these corners in fourth gear, 3,000 RPM, and really very little slippage. It's very smooth. On gravel, smooth is good, smooth is fast. I'm not saying you should drive fast on gravel, but being smooth on gravel is probably more important than dropping gears and trying to hammer as you come out. I'm still in fourth gear, rolling through these corners, just nice and smooth, and it feels really good. It surprised me that I didn't need to shift as much as I thought I did when I'm riding on gravel. I think it goes back to when I was a kid. I'd drop a gear before a corner, which isn't a wrong thing to do. Still do plenty of that. But it was kind of fun to come out of a corner and hang the back end out. But I wasn't really thinking about control. Now I try to think of control, and if I can maximize my traction and control through a corner, I tend to prefer that. And then, with your own bike, motors vary. Like there's, single cylinder, smaller displacement, single cylinder, larger displacement, like the 690. This is a 890, but it's two inline pistons, and then there's V-twins. Some bikes are V-twins, kind of more torquey characteristics. So the inline triples, some of the Yamaha engines, that's a really good motor. There's all kinds of different characteristics of the motor, so that will determine your gear and RPM combinations. But whatever bike you have, they're all fun and awesome. Just play around with this a little bit. This is really loose, and I can come out of here pretty controlled, just rolling on a throttle and brake traction a bit. I tell you, I love how the 890 handles on the highway as well as off-road. I mean, I'm running knobbies, and other than the whine of these knobbies, I forget I'm on an enduro bike, an adventure bike. I mean, I'm just come up to these corners, and you just kind of pull out, and it's just awesome. I use the speed shifter coming out of the corner. And it's just so much fun. This bike just, I don't feel its size. I know it's not like a big adventure bike, but it certainly is bigger than many I've owned, and it just comes out of the corner, roll through a few speed shifts, and you are off to the races. Such a beautiful day, and you can still stand up. You can sit down, stand up, stretch your legs. Just such a good, versatile bike. But again, there's lots of great bikes up here, that a person can get anymore. Just get out there and ride. Doesn't matter what you're on. Yeah, chime in. Tell me what you're riding. I love hearing what people ride out there. So chime in. Tell me what your ride is. I like them all. I've ridden lots of different makes of bikes. So tell me what you ride. Would love to hear. Just put it in the comments. And if you have some comments for gravel road riding tips or other tips, please feel free to add them in. Yeah, we can all learn from each other. Here we are back to pavement again. Higher RPMs coming out of the corners. Some more spirited riding definitely works great on corners on pavement. I think I've kind of been watching my RPMs, and I'll tend to shift a bit above 4 grand or more on pavement. So definitely works. You can ride differently pavement between gravel. What an awesome day. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you all are out getting some riding in and just enjoying life. And hope this is helpful. And if you want more of this content, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll try to keep new information coming from time to time.